good afternoon. We are starting our session. I'm Maciej Malawski. I have a pleasure to lead this session on digital healthcare. And in this session we are going to have presentations about the problems related to data, to the digital health in terms of starting from mathematical models to AI, and also some elements of telemedicine. So I hope we will have an interesting set of presentations, but also we have time for discussions, so the questions will be welcome after each talk. I'm starting with the presentation from myself. I represent Sano Center for Computational Medicine. I'm a director of a center and the leader of extreme scale data and computing team. So that's why the topic of this this presentation is about big data, because data is important. We cannot have any models or AI, machine learning, without data. We know that all these models in computational medicine in general require data, and especially big data. This is something all people talk about, and of course in medicine we can have examples of really large data sets, like nearly millions of even publicly available X-ray images. For example, this was used for many research activities for the COVID pandemic, but also number of publications. These are millions of abstracts in PubMed, nobody can read this. We need automated tools. From my earlier experience, we work with big data in other disciplines, like, for example, in physics. So CERN, they generate a petabyte of data per second. Of course, it's raw data, so it has to be filtered. But there are orders of exabytes of data in data centers. Of course, there are industries of all these social networks. These are not precise numbers because nobody is publishing them, but there is some evidence about billions of these events, like likes, or millions of pictures, terabytes of data processed. ChatGPT, as it says, if you ask it, it says it was trained on more than 100 billion of these tokens, which is also about nearly a terabyte of data. There are initiatives now in research to actually build this science GPT, or scientific language model, so that not only the abstract but also full text of publications will be ingested into this this large language model to train really scientific kind of chat. Of course, the challenge is whether the publishers will allow to actually read these papers, because then the model could just serve or quote the entire sections or entire papers, which would break the paywalls that the publishers have. But if the model is really trained to just really learn this knowledge and then build a model, analyze without quoting, then it should be in principle possible. So these are these initiatives by big companies like Microsoft Research, but also the biggest European American scientific computing centers. And of course, there are these challenges with big data, like storage, processing power, the complexity of the models to analyze this volume, variety, velocity, value, and so on. So this is one side of the picture of the coin. But also in medicine, the problem is really how to find and access useful data. Yeah, so on one hand we have big data problems, but also there is small data problems because data are in some silos. Yeah, they are located in individual hospitals, in some doctors' premises, or the patient, they have some individual data collected by devices. But yeah, how to integrate it, yeah, it's a challenge. There are various types, different modalities, acquisition techniques, and so on. There are also fundamental problems with this data, like non-uniform distribution, some bias. So again, the machine learning model is as good as the data we are training it. Metadata interoperability, there are many challenges. We will hear about some of them in the session. There are, of course, good initiatives like building central repositories in various countries, like in Scandinavia or in UK. In Poland, this is still an open problem. And we as researchers, but also representatives of industry, we need this kind of system-based solution to be able to process this data to improve the healthcare, but also for research. Yeah, and this is what is still missing, I think. So I want to say about one approach that we use at Sano in my team. So this is an approach called federated learning, where actually in order to train a model, there is not a need to put all the data from various sources in a centralized system. Instead of this, we just train the smaller models on the local data sets. So the data is trained locally, so in one node, which can be either a single user with the mobile phone, or it could be a single hospital. Then each model is trained locally. It can be a different model, like you can see on this picture. Yeah, this is a kind of simpler regression model. So each of these fitting lines is a bit different because it's trained on different data set. But then what we do, we send not the data, but we send the trained model to some central server, like this cloud on this picture. And then there is an algorithm which can combine this together. So the simplest one is called federated averaging. There are various other ways how to combine this model into a single model, which captures all the features, all the information from the individual models. And these experiments that were done already in the world on some large examples of imaging data or other types of data, they show that definitely this global model is maybe not as good as the model that could be trained on centralized data, but it's nearly as good in terms of accuracy and all these metrics. But of course, it's much better than any of the individual models that can be trained locally. So this is one approach to solve these problems of data silos and also the problems with restrictions like GDPR or other legal problems. Is this the stage I can use? Okay. Maybe. So of course there are some challenges, like if the model learns the data by heart, then like with this ChatGPT example, it's possible to infer some of the data from the trained model. Yeah. So there are some other techniques to introduce some additional noise so that it's possible. So yeah, this is currently one of the research topics, but yeah, there are still many types of data that haven't been tested in terms of, I don't know, genomics data or some tabular data. So we are also exploring this that at Sano. Yeah, with this, I would like to kind of, leave this problem open. Yeah, so in general, yeah, if we have big data, this is a big problem. But if we have not enough data, it's even perhaps a bigger problem. I hope in this session we'll see some examples of using AI tools dealing with various type of data, various ways of building models, and I hope we'll have some interesting discussion here. Yeah. So with that, I would like to end, and yeah, if there are questions, I'm happy to answer questions related to my part, and then we'll continue. Okay. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you are building federated model instead of centralized one, yes? So do you have some statistics that you can share, or tell us what about the quality, what is specificity, sensitivity, or I don't know if it's detection or what? How is it comparable? Is it comparable?
Yeah, you can compare the standard metrics like this accuracy.
And you mentioned that it is a little worse.
Yeah, but we can say that if the centralized models has, I don't know, 90% of accuracy, then it's just few percent less in the case of this federated model. But much better than the individual ones. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, there's a question.
So some people are worried that the federated model will still have a trace of a local bias from each of the data sources. Did you make some experiments with a holdout set or so that the federated model cannot re-identify from which source a certain data point can come?
Yeah, the standard technique is to add some noise to this models before sending it to the central server and averaging, because when you add some like, I don't know, Gaussian type of noise, and then do averaging, then this noise will cancel out, completely. So when, in the case of so the server cannot get the these weights of the model in such a way that it can reconstruct the data. But the specific question was about whether it's possible to identify the source from the centralized model, and from the top of my head, I don't have the answer, but perhaps it was discussed.
But they are, for example, a patient can be detected this way, So it's a very good question.
Yeah. So these are the some of the challenges. There are that need to be solved. Yeah. Okay. There's a a question.
How many local models have sense before averaging? 300 or 3?
So there are, yeah, the spectrum is quite wide, yeah. So it's possible to have, yeah, really useful model of a handful of individual clients, as we call, yeah. So if there are like 4 or 5 hospitals, it's already, yeah, working. But of course, if we go,
it means you are working with 4, for example, 4 free local data center, yeah?
Yeah, in the case of bigger data center, it's called closed silo type of learning, that there are smaller number of bigger data sets, yeah?
But you can imagine that you can scale to 300 hospitals or full.
Yeah, so the original idea was invented by Google, and it was applied to the Gboard, so the Google keyboard for mobile phones, yeah? So the individual users are typing something on the keyboard, and the model is training the prediction of this text. So then these are thousands of clients, yeah? Then there are, of course, other technical issues like synchronization, transmission, and so on. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, so thank you for for the questions. And now, yeah, I switch my role from the presenter to the chair. So I'm going to introduce our next speaker. So this is Andrew Narracott from University of Sheffield. Andrew Andrew is the representative of our strategic partner, because Sano is a teaming of excellence center. So yeah, we collaborate with Andrew. Have been collaborating for many years, and yeah, this his specialty is in vascular modeling. So yeah, we will hear now about the status of the research and the collaborative way of developing these models. Okay, Andrew, you can use this. So this is the next slide. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I will be brave and stand on the stage. We'll see how long that lasts for. So the first thing I did want to say is this work is very much the product of a PhD work by Magdalena Otter, who's a PhD student based at the Sano Center. And as Maciej said as well, just to stress that this is very much a strong collaboration between the University of Sheffield and Sano. I'm not going to talk too much about technical detail today. If people are interested in the technical background, I'm very happy to talk about that, and I'm sure Magda would be happy to talk about that as well. I'm going to focus a little bit more on the collaborative context and also reflect a little bit on our experience in Sheffield and what we found has been particularly effective when developing mechanistic models for clinical application. I'm going to talk about a specific application here, which is for vascular interventions. I'll give a bit more detail on that in a moment. And also, I think it's important to note the people that are on the slide here. So there's 2 of us from the University of Sheffield, myself and Professor Ian Halliday, Magdalena, who has a joint position between Sano and Sheffield, Maciej, who's just introduced the session today, and then 2 of our colleagues who are based at the Royal Free NHS Hospital Trust in London, and they're the clinical collaborators. And one of my messages is really we couldn't do this kind of work without this strong clinical collaboration. So the outline here is I'm going to talk very briefly about the development of mechanistic models for healthcare and provide some other sources of information for those of you that wish to explore that a bit further. I'm going to give an exemplar from another piece of activity that we've developed at Sheffield, which has very much been the inspiration for the development of these types of models. I'm going to talk a little bit about how this work came to be in terms of fostering clinical links. I'll talk about the clinical need and the technical model development, but as I said, in the brief time that I have today, if you want to discuss those further, I'd be happy to do so. So, development of mechanistic models for healthcare. There's been a lot of discussion about AI AI, of course, is from my perspective, a form of modeling. But of course, one of the hot topics is explainability of AI. And whilst there is quite a strong push for that at the moment, there's also a large community that have developed around using mechanistic models for healthcare. These are a few web links that might be of interest to you. The VPH Institute is a legal body which lobbies for development of these type of activities. And in particular, the URLs focus on further information such as webinars and case studies. The Avicenna Alliance is a pre-competitive industrial body which allows interaction between academia and industry to actually develop solutions that can be translated into the clinic. CompBiomed is an EU project within which Sheffield have been a partner, and Sano and Cifranet are an associate partner, and Insignio is our multidisciplinary institute in Sheffield. And also, since the establishment of Sano, there is an incredibly valuable resource through the Sano seminars, which you can also find online. So in terms of a specific example, how have we used mechanistic modeling to inform healthcare? This is an example that's been developed within the group in Sheffield. Further information is at the URL there. This is a simulation tool known as Virtue Heart. And I think one of the important aspects here, this was co-developed through engineers, physicists, mathematicians within our group, but the head of our group is an interventional cardiologist. So a lot of the development of this tool really wouldn't have been possible without the direct input from the clinical team that treat these kind of patients. I won't talk about the application in detail today, but I think another key topic was that the computational tool that's used here is designed to provide a measure that was already validated, an experimental measure which was used in the clinic and demonstrated to improve patient treatment. And again, that really assists in translating these tools into healthcare if you can focus on a problem where there's an evidence base for the effectiveness of that particular measure in improving patient care. So inspired by that, we established a new project which has now been supported and taken forward through Magda's work in Sheffield, in Sano and Sheffield. I did want to talk a little bit about how that came about. I was invited to the European Society of Vascular Surgery meeting at the Royal Free Hospital in May 2019, where I gave a keynote on computational modelling of the venous system. It's actually quite uncomfortable, I think, sometimes to do these things. That was a very clinical audience. And of course, some of the work that we do is rather abstract and uses a lot of mathematical concepts. But for me, this was really important. If I hadn't done this talk, then Magda wouldn't be doing her project at the moment, because it led to some direct discussions about how we could use those modelling tools and apply them to clinical problems that currently face vascular surgeons. And again, just to comment a little bit on the timeline here, that happened a number of years ago. It took another couple of years before we were able to establish a PhD programme, partly through the resources that were granted as part of the Sano project. And it's been very important as we go through this PhD that we maintain that clinical engagement through regular remote coordination and in-person visits to the clinical site. And I just wanted to publicise, in terms of vascular surgery, there's a clinical meeting coming up early next year. So if people are interested in that topic, you might want to consider engaging with that meeting. So what's the clinical problem that we set out to look at? It's around deep vein thrombosis. Again, I can't go into all the clinical background today, but the treatment of DVT, because it's a multifactorial disease, is rather complex. And again, like many diseases, there are a set of clinical guidelines at the moment, but they tend to be based on population studies and average performance in individual patients. So our hypothesis is that we can use computational modelling, specifically looking at blood flow and hemodynamics, to improve the outcomes for individual patients. So an important point I think we found in Sheffield, this is critical, is to think about, even if you're early in the research process, where eventually do you consider that your tools will sit? So this is an example of the current clinical workflow for DVT patients, We're not sure yet, because we're still developing the modeling tools, exactly where the modeling would be used in the clinical process, but it's important that it's credible that we can use it. And a critical aspect here is things like timescales, for example. So over what timescales do you need to make a clinical decision? Is it possible to actually operate your computational models in those timescales? So a little bit of detail on the type of modeling we're doing. We have two scales of modeling. One is a 0D model. Again, this is designed to capture variability across the lower limb circulation, so the arterial circulation, the capillary bed and the veins. And we've designed this model so that it can explore anatomical variation. One of the big issues with the venous circulation in particular is it tends to be more variable than the arterial circulation. So using a model based on one type of anatomy is unlikely to be predictive for the breadth of patients that you look at. It's unlikely from a 0D model that we could provide information useful to the clinicians. What we need to do is look at detail in the local blood flow in the regions where thrombosis occurs. So for that, we use a 3D CFD model. On the right-hand side here, we have an idealized geometry. Eventually, we'll be moving to informing that using medical imaging data to make it subject-specific. An important part of high-performance computing and the role that centers like Sano play is that it's now accepted that having one model is rarely good enough, okay? We recognize that clinical data is noisy and is variable, so a technique we can use to address that is to look at how sensitive are the outcome measures that our model produces to variability in the input clinical data. We can do that using techniques such as sensitivity analysis, but they do require high-performance computing. So to get good output from this process, we're typically looking at maybe up to the order of 1 million model runs. The 0D model isn't very expensive, but still running it 1 million times is non-trivial. So that's the end of my talk. As I said, I've had to give a very brief summary. In summary, we feel, and we've got evidence now, that mechanistic modeling can strongly support clinical decision-making. Clinicians are keen to engage, despite the complexities of development, but you do need to have continuous interaction, particularly during the development stages. Translation is very important. So we tend to go through a long process of discussing what the model can provide, what the clinician needs, and making sure they map together. And again, this idea of where will the technology sit when it's finally deployed, is that feasible? Is it going to work in the hospital environment, is a really important aspect. Thank you very much, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Okay. Are there questions in the audience? Yeah, there is one. Oh, maybe you can. There is a mic.
Hi. So very interesting. So first, we were actually trying to do the same things as you did with XA, so angiography, and we actually failed at some point, and we just tried to different approach on Melis forever. So I'm very curious, what accuracy do you have right now? Because you actually do a segmentation of the veins from angiography as well, yes?
Not from angiography. So the clinical workflow is that there is a pre-intervention CT or MR workup for the patient, which is used to identify the thrombus site. So we'd be looking at taking that information and using that to inform the 3D model. But again, actually, there will be challenges there because the resolution, that's a lower limb scan, yeah, so the resolution at the site of the thrombus is likely to be limited. I think a key part of this process is that uncertainty is embedded within the framework. Now, I think it's possible that at the end of this project, what we might demonstrate is that the current clinical workflow is inadequate to provide the accuracy that you would need to diagnose a patient. But if you embed uncertainty in your process and you can track the influence of the input parameters to your output, then I think you have an opportunity to recommend to the clinician how they would improve their clinical workflow in order to improve the accuracy of the outcome. And that, I think, is the way forward, because part of the challenge, clearly they can improve the accuracy by taking a lot more measurements in the clinic, but people won't do that as part of the
because they
standard.
for example, they implement the stent, and for some reason they think the stent will gonna hold or not, and at some point you actually know it's not gonna hold, and the patient is coming back, and actually it's not a one case study. It happens for thousands of patients across Europe. So I'm very curious to know that's.
Well, also as well, it's interesting. For example, they use ultrasound in the clinical workflow at the moment, but only as a follow-up tool. Yeah. So after you've treated your patient, the patient will come back and they use ultrasound to monitor progression of a thrombus. There's potential to use ultrasound preoperatively to improve the predictions of a preoperative model. That's not currently done clinically, but I think the challenges are asking the clinicians to change their practice without any evidence.
And they don't want to do it.
No, but models like this could provide evidence to change the clinical workflow.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, I think that's a very good job. Yeah, thanks.
Yep.
Thank you. We have one question there.
Yeah, Andrew, I was not aware that it took 2 years to get Magda's project on track. So if you would have to rush it up, so where was it alive? Was it a project
to be honest,
that was constantly alive? Or
I just wanted to make the point, but that's a different way of doing things as well, isn't it? So my point is the project for me started with a clinical interaction, yeah? And obviously then once we'd established a hypothesis that we could combine modeling with a clinical need, then we looked for funding opportunities to support that. So we did put in some submissions for funding ahead of taking the project forward with Sano. But I think I wanted to give a comment on collaboration and philosophy. An alternative, of course, is to seek some funding and then go and look for a clinical collaboration to support a technology. And personally, I think we've found that's not quite as effective. So building that relationship before you start the research is quite critical, I think. Yeah.
Okay, can you give any recommendations how to foster these kind of happenings?
Well, so certainly one point is, again, as I say, it's a bit uncomfortable, but for me, the difference is going to a clinical meeting. Yeah. So, and of course, you have to be invited and you have to have some approach to that environment, but that's fundamentally different from standing up at a European Society of Biomechanics meeting or a VPH meeting and talking about modeling to loads of people that understand modeling. It's just a different approach. So again, it's a suggestion to people that are in this area to actually engage a little bit directly with the clinical audience, because I think that can be quite beneficial.
Thank you. I have also one question related to this, big data, small data problem. This is definitely compute intensive approach. Yeah, it's rather not a big data type of problem application computing. But can you comment about the data issues with the data that you are facing? Yeah, in this kind of
I mean, I guess there are a number of different issues. One issue is, as you said, Maciej, getting the data from the hospital and using that to inform the initial research. I think there are still, in this area, there are things that you can do, particularly around sensitivity analysis, looking at idealized models that help you understand the physics over large scale sensitivity before you go to look at clinical data. That's the strategy that we've taken here. Again, I guess the approach conceptually can be similar to an AI model where you assess uncertainty offline using large computational resource. But then when you use a model in the clinic, you inform that, you reduce that in the form of a reduced order model to inform the treatment of an individual patient. There's certainly no way in these clinical workflows that they would have the time to do a detailed sensitivity analysis for every patient. So.
Okay. So thank you very much. Let's thank our speaker again. And we are moving to the next presentation. I have a pleasure to introduce Professor Jakub Barbasz, who is also a researcher, but a co-founder and actively working in a company dealing with real medical data. And also introducing some artificial intelligence components into these production systems. So, Jakub, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. It's working? Yeah, okay. Today I will talk about coordinate healthcare and how can we use artificial intelligence in this system. We know that artificial intelligence is great. There's huge potential and many area when we can use it. But we have to think not as scientists, but as normal people. And what change in our mind when we stop being a scientist? Artificial intelligence in in medicine have great potential, diagnose disease, develop drug faster, and many things. But we have to thinking about this one people, because we know that the market is large, about $24 billion in 2025 and about 100 billion US dollars in 2028. But in the same report, we have information about this one people. That means that 5% of people have wrong diagnosis. It is a problem which we try to find. In typical clinic in Poland, we have 3 doctors. And they work every day with about 60 people. It means from these statistics that 3 of them have wrong diagnosis. No one wants to be a red man. Yeah? A real problem is that we try to use artificial intelligence in a system to find this wrong diagnosis. We prepare in our company a large IT system with integrate all kind of area when the medical clinic and clinics work, from financial part to diagnosis. And we try to put some artificial intelligence, small piece to this system. In the system we have many source of data. Data about all of tests, about where we know when the people live. We know everything about our patients. Yeah, everyone who works with hospital know it. But we try to use this data to find the wrong diagnosis. But very important is that it is coordinated. It is large system which combine all source of data. When we have many kinds of parts of this system, we have a problem. We have a problem with artificial intelligence because when we are thinking like a scientist, we know that if we ask AI 2 times the same question, we have 2 different answers. And it is normal for us. But for typical people, it's not okay, because they ask a computer and they want one good answer. They feel not good when they have, sometimes this list, and in the next time when we ask the same question, we have another list, which is okay. It is the AI problem when we try to put it in medicine, because no one wants 2 different diagnoses from the same data. AI make people fear. Why? Because it is artificial. It is unfortunately named everything artificial is worse than real thing. The second one, many part of medical care system, for example, diagnostician, feel not good when are thinking about artificial intelligence in a company because they can feel unemployment. Yeah, because AI can make the same job like them, but faster, cheaper. It's not good when we are thinking to put it to normal life because we have some negative response from people who should use it. Of course, artificial intelligence can show errors. No one, especially a doctor, wants to see his errors. Yeah, because it is not good feeling. It is the next source of fear when we try to put artificial intelligence to healthcare system. And the last one is how we should interpret the results when we ask artificial intelligence. They said they produce some answers, and we have to interpret this answer. It's not easy. In our system, we put a small piece of AI to solve this problem, because in Poland we have many people, women, which not make gynecological cytologies. We try to solve this one. We know that the reason why it is why the situation in Poland looks like is that when we can use artificial intelligence in many different levels, and I want to show you only this green one. We built a device for scanning microscopic slides, cheaper than on the market, about 10 times. We prepare algorithm for initial assessment and quality control of these slides, because many slides is not enough good for other algorithms. We prepare, of course, algorithm to supporting the diagnosis. It is easier part, and we integrate it with full IT system, with full law environment, and with people. It is hardest part, integrate with people which have to work with them. For example, this is example one of piece of our system. It is a scan of cytological slides. For this slide, we have about 1,005 megapixels photo. In our company, we have, I cannot say exactly, but more than 100 terabytes imaging data. We have many thousand of these slides, scanned slides, and we prepare the AI which produce information for doctors. It looks like with information about how large is probability of that in this place, for example, is changes. What kind of changes is there? Yeah. And how they can, maybe not is good word. What they have to do, what they have to, how they have to interpret this data. Because it is hard to think about, okay, it is ASCUS or it is LCL, I can signal this diagnosis. No, because it is some probability about this diagnosis. Our results in our system, we are talking about more than 1,000 of women tested. Negative, positive, some slides, 100%. Now we don't have any mistake when the system sort the samples as a positive. It means that it's not okay, but you know, after a COVID situation, that positive is not okay, and negative, which is okay. And we classification for these types, we have 99.8% effectiveness. From this, I have a short conclusion. It can work. It means artificial intelligence can work, but it needs many conditions have to be met that we can use it in normal life, not in science. It is not miracle drug because it not solve all problems. We can solve small pieces of our problems and try to integrate it in one system. Maybe it is some kind of solution. And we have to thinking about artificial intelligence in medicine as a how to say, as a problem for people who works in medicine, because it is new tool. It is not a hammer. It is new, very difficult to understand tool, and they need to. We need help them how they have to use it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now, yeah, we have time for some questions from the audience. Yeah, there is one in the back, but we can start with the one in the front. Okay, please.
So you mentioned about the AI fears, which is very valid, especially for the people not from the science or IT world. What's your vision on addressing this issue? Is it regulating the AI usage? Is it educating people, or any other way you see?
Only education.
Only education.
Yeah.
So the regulation
regulation is not solution, because people, especially in Poland, not love.
They will always overcome.
Yeah. We have to make many times, many talks to people and shows them how it works, how they have to think about it. And after that, I see the possibility that it is acceptable by them.
Okay, thank you.
So there was a question, yeah, in the back. Jose.
Very nice presentation. On your presentation, you mentioned the comparison between the AI getting two different diagnoses and the doctor. And the doctor with some doctors with the same data also get different diagnoses. So, yeah. So my point being, don't you think it's the other way around? It's that AI can really reduce that variability on the diagnosis because it's driven towards very explicit. Okay, there is scenarios where AI is going to get it wrong, but the things that it knows always get it right. You know, because the doctors have this combination of different knowledge that they have, skills, expertise, you can call it whatever you want, but that's what produces variability. That's what produces variability. So you see this, diagnose on oncology, for example, and if a doctor has expertise on oncology, we'll get it right. If a doctor doesn't have expertise on oncology, we'll get it wrong. But if you feed the right data into the machine, this initial process that you mentioned, right or wrong, is going to be get right. Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay.
What I have to say. But you know, when you have a diagnosis, for example, a cancer, you try to find another doctor who changed this diagnosis. It is normal for people, but when they use a computer, they don't understand it, this situation. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So it's not only machine learning, but also human learning. Yeah, it's.
But it is the problem when we, because when I say when I look at this audience, I think many of us are scientists, and we are other kind of thinking about AI. We have some bias, and in normal life, the people has biased in other side.
Yes.
I have also one question to you, because you are saying that sometimes diagnosis can be given in this way, and then another doctor or another AI simulations, they can give another one. But in fact, you know,
From the same data.
Yeah, with the same data, but I would like to go a little bit more inside of certain specifications, because, you know, when you have appropriate data, you have to, in fact, take into account, you know, which kind of data do you have, and you have to analyze them like normal analytical data, and they have to also meet certain certain parameters. You know, like you have to have certain ranges, like for other analytical methods with AI. You have also, by the way, certain regulations, and then you know what are your ranges which are okay for certain interpretations, or which are out of order, like outlier in the analytical science. So could you elaborate on this a little bit? Thank you.
The problem with the ranges at the beginning is that the people are different. For example, when we are talking with you, you looks like a sportsman, but we are taking another one. They have the same parameter, but it for the doctor it doesn't the same because the same number is not the same parameter for one people and for second people. For AI, no, this is the same.
So how would you propose to submit, you know, certain information
we try to
based on AI to the EMA, for example, or to the US FDA?
I don't know. We try to use other information about people, where they live, for example, about age, about many kind of how many money they have. It is information, medical information, which we can use. And when we use it, it is difficult, but when we use it, we can more be right. But for me, it is problem that we cannot put it in a law about artificial intelligence. It's a difficult problem. I cannot say how it should be solved because I don't know.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, there is one question, and don't worry, we are not running late because actually, yeah, one or two speakers didn't show up, so we have some extra time for discussions.
So I would like to understand once more. So you said that when you implement the same data into AI models, you will get the different result?
Yes, because you have models learn on large number of data.
The same model with the same data will produce different result?
Yeah.
So sorry, but I think that when you talk about LLMs,
Because
that is possible. But when you talk about UNet or any other existing models, you will get the 99.
because you are thinking like scientist. I show you why.
No, I'm not.
If you
like,
are
I'm not
taking
thinking,
scanning a slides, you have a data as a slide, microscopic slide. But this data change when the people put it into microscope, because one put it in this position, in the other position.
Of course, but that's not the problem of AI. That's the problem of data acquisition. So you have unstable.
But you have to work with this data.
Of course, but you have unstable acquisition. So it's not a problem of the AI, because we have a model, and our models like 99.99 something percent repeatable.
I have.
So for example, we were doing.
I
like,
ask you.
Yeah.
Please try to make the same question to ChatGPT 2 times.
Of course, it's an LLM. That's why I said LLM is different. Yeah. But when you are talking about UNet, I don't believe it's true. So for example, that's why I asked.
Why are you thinking that we are using UNet?
I don't know. I just said as an example. Of course, we can talk about different.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's what I ask. And the second question is about what you said about repeatability. So I think that it's important to understand that, for example, when we are building AI models, when they are wrong the same way. And they are right the same way. But the repeatability is very important, because and based on those, you can actually build a different standard. And we are working with X-ray and CT and MRI. So the more or less the standard of acquisition data is very high. And this gives us some advantage over you, because it's, for example, when you work with the ultrasonography, it's always different, because you can have the head in different position and so on. And
it is very different, difficult technique.
This is the acquisition problem, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but actually the patient is the
patient is our data
part. Yeah, exactly. So there was here.
You said that there is a problem because the AI is completely new tool that the, let's say, doctor doesn't know how to use. But on the other hand, how can we teach the doctors, the science people or somebody else, how can we teach them how to use this tool, since it is new tool for us as well, and we don't know what to tell them, yes? And that's my question. How can we teach them to use this
spend many times with
new
them.
hammer?
Spend many times with them, because for us it's not problem if we are wrong. For the scientists, it is normal situation. Many times we are wrong and change our thinking after 1 month. They are thinking that they cannot be wrong, because they are working with life. Real life of these people. They have one people face to face, and they are thinking, I cannot make a mistake. It is a problem, and we have to spend many times that they can use our systems as a normal tool and as a support, not as a diagnosed producer. They only support. If they are thinking about it, it support me, but I make a decision, is okay.
Okay, so one final question here.
I take the liberty to ask a question, but also to make a remark. I think if you want to use AI to make a diagnostic claim, as for instance in the case of cervical cancer, then the regulatory agency sees that as software as a medical device, and you have to support the claims irrespective of what instrument or what patient delivers the sample.
Yeah, it is a problem.
It's
a large problem.
It's not a problem, it's a requirement. It's
it is why we support diagnosis, not make diagnosis.
Anyway, that was my comment. The question is, particularly in cervical cancer, you also explained that, it's a challenge to get people to be screened. And
so
I think with the broader set of parameters you may get for women, not patients, but women to be screened, it may be able to use AI to increase the number of people, to reach more people, because you can tailor maybe the approach, to increase that number. I would be interested to see how you think about that and whether you...
I show something.
Yeah.
Can I back to my presentation? Okay. Okay. We can use artificial intelligence in all of this level. We can use it to population management. We have to identify which women have to be in the first place be tested. We can use artificial intelligence to acquisition in acquisition processes. We can use bots to take women to the clinic. We can use many different artificial intelligence pieces in one process, but it is many. All of them is different. We have to use it all. And in our population, we change the situation from about 20% to about 50%, and it works. The first is, in my opinion, it is hardest part of used artificial intelligence. Of course, we know that ChatGPT and all the it works, but it is not the same language when they communicate with patient like they have from doctors, or I don't know how it is in English, położna. I don't know. It is
obstetrician or
nurse.
Nurse, yeah.
Which call to the women and say, "Oh, can you go in the next week?" It is the important part of this system, and we can support them, because the artificial intelligence can identify these women need 4 phones, but the other one, they need only 1 phone to go to our clinic and make a test.
Okay, thank you very much for this discussion. Thank you for the presentation. Okay, so we move to the next speaker. Now we have Szymon Mazurek representing Sano again. He recently obtained his master's degree and he's continuing the work towards his PhD. Tu jest, tu się świeci. O. Okay. Yes, so the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the introduction, Maciej. So today I would like to talk about the results of the research that we recently finished in Sano. And it was a main topic of my master thesis, which initially we aimed to be a solution for epileptic diagnosis for EEG recordings, but ended up to be, we hope, somehow generalizable to solving such a problems of time series analysis with neural networks. But I believe that due to my height, I should, definitely that's gonna be better. So first, with the boring part, I'm a scientific programmer in Sano, also in ACC CipherNet in AGH, where I'm developing some solutions related to AI, mostly language models right now. And I'm also a PhD student in AGH doctoral school. And yeah, today I'm gonna quickly talk about the epilepsy itself as a global healthcare problem, then the problems that are there with the epilepsy treatment and management. Then I will try to convince you that graphs are cool and they are a great method to model some problems that can be used not only in such a problems, but to many other ones. Then briefly about our solutions, and then it's gonna be a conclusion. So epilepsy is a pretty big problem, if not one of the biggest problems worldwide in terms of neurological disorders, because around 50 million people are affected worldwide, and we get 5 million new diagnoses every year. So that's those are pretty big numbers. What is more, nearly 80% of the affected people live in low to middle income countries, meaning that they probably will have a bigger problem reaching trained professionals and having a proper medical care taken about them. So somehow this already points us towards the need of creating such solutions to automate some things, diagnosis and monitoring. And what is more surprising is that 70% of the patients could live symptom-free if they are treated properly. So we can really improve the lives of many people, of millions of people, with the proper treatment. Okay, what are the problems with the EEG monitoring, managing, and diagnosis? Obviously, there are many, but to highlight the most relevant ones is the access to clinicians and the time required by the clinician to spend on analysis of the patient's recordings. Epilepsy is mostly managed and diagnosed using EEG, so electroencephalography, a recording of the brain activity via electrodes attached to the scalp that just measures the potential and activity of the neurons. So, and mostly, most of those recordings are long. They are few hours of length. And they are pretty noisy and require a trained clinician to look at them and to see some patterns to diagnose if this is really a seizures, pathological activity, or something unrelated, some noise. So those are the most relevant problems. Yeah, and now quickly talking about how AI can help, how AI can automate. In this case, graph neural networks are used. So few things about them. Basically, as with many other applications, we could use neural networks to automatize the analysis of the recordings of patients. So we don't have to have a clinician that sits, okay, and looks into the recording and says, okay, this is a seizure, this is not a seizure, this is some characteristic pattern of that patient or not. We could send that to a model, and hopefully it's gonna help us in this task. A little bit about graphs and why are they used here. We will see some benefits later on. Basically, they allow us to model any relationship in the data that we want. So in terms of, for example, medical image analysis, we have more simple relationships between the objects in the images. So basically, they are related somehow in space. This thing is near the other one. But for example, when we want to model some more complex relationships, so for example, social networks, Szymon knows Adam, for example. Like, how do we model that? Well, you can create a graph, you can create an edge, and that's gonna be it. So graphs are very nice, not only for this kind of problem, but for many other domains. And yeah, one more thing about that. They are compared to the modern models, especially LLMs, which are enormous and require huge amounts of compute power. They are usually lightweight and they are fast. So this enables us to maybe use those kind of solutions in edge devices, in smartphones or some devices, wearables that we can give to a patient in home and maybe predict the epilepsy attack or some other disorder. Yeah. Now about our approach, and as I said before, we would like to show that not only as a solution to that particular problem, but more like an approach to solving problems related to time series analysis, in this case classification with AI. So first and foremost, we need to analyze the data, and we need to see if there are some problems. In our case, the problem was that EEG by its nature, it's very, very noisy. Okay, so we are recording the potentials that are in the ranges of microvolts. So every even like a movement of the patient's eye blinks or heartbeat are causing the artifacts to be present in the recordings. So we need to think about how to get rid of such things, because they can drastically affect the model's performance. Also, there's usually a problem with sample imbalance. We had a problem that, yeah, seizures activity is very rare, usually something that occurs rarely relative to other activities. Therefore, we needed to balance somehow that. So that was the first step, and we can see here that our protocol that we devised, which was very simple, but I'm not gonna go into details, resulted in pretty big increase in the area under receiver operator curve, which is basically a measure of the effectiveness of the class separability by the network. Compared to no filtering, we observed the increase by about 10 points, which is very significant. Very significant. Okay. Going further, the second step we propose when creating such a models is to use AutoML, meaning automated methods to search and tune the both architecture and the configuration of the network. Because yeah, creating such an architecture with the large number of, here we see the growing number of publications in the domain of AI, it can be hard to connect all the dots how to create a proper model. Therefore, we used an automatic search method, and the conclusion from that step is it increased. We started with the baseline of like 60% accuracy, and then we got close to 95% on average when we did extensive evaluation. And last, or maybe one step before the last one, because we have something fun for the end, is the evaluation of the model. Here we have a confusion matrix, but what we are saying here, after even we construct such a model and the algorithm is telling that, yeah, we found the optimal architecture, we need to use proper metrics and test the model relative to the task that we are trying to solve. So in the case, for example, of medical solutions, we need to focus on sensitivity. We don't want to miss any positive cases and undiagnosed, let the patient go home without the proper diagnosis when he is really affected by the disease. And lastly, explainability. So as previous speakers also mentioned, and we all know that establishing trust in AI is crucial nowadays, especially when we want to use such models in the medical healthcare. So we use some explainability algorithms for the graph neural networks. By the way, graphs are pretty conveniently explained, and we can quite easily do that. And we found that some features that we used related to the data that we put into the network, they were changing depending on the period that was classified by the network. This needs to be obviously evaluated further, but from plots like that, we can see here for different classes, different features that were extracted from the signal were relevant for the given classification made by the model. So maybe we can find some measures that are discriminant for a given time period that problem. And lastly, we were using the network that was enriched with attention mechanisms for the establishing of relevant connections in the graph. And therefore, we extracted those. And based on that, we tried to analyze the change of the connectivity between the normal, so those represent the healthy activity in the brain and the prediction made for this activity. And here we go all the way towards the seizure. So this is also something that we need to evaluate further, but it shows potential that we can simply extract the knowledge about the changes in connectivity. And we analyzed that with the neurophysiologist, and it was coherent with the knowledge from the clinical practice that the closer we get to the seizure period, the more the connectivity increases. Okay, so this graph becomes more dense, and basically that's it for that method. Once again, to reiterate, we need automatic tools for analyzing such problems, diagnosing such problems, especially that most of the patients are present in the low-income countries with hard access to the proper care. We also need to have extended access to data, because this research was conducted on very, very, very small and very noisy data. So actually, it was pretty surprising, at least for me, that we managed to make it perform at that level that it does. And we also need to closely cooperate with the clinicians to validate such models and to further improvement. Thank you. I believe I am pretty much over my time. So I don't know if we have time. If we have time for questions.
No, we have yeah, time for a question. Okay, please. I have one question, please.
Quite interesting lecture. However, I have to admit that I did not understand so much from my perspective. I am a neurologist, and let me ask a very silly question. What is a clinical application of that solution? Because, you know, I'm dealing on day-to-day with epileptic patients. I have tools for a diagnostic. EEG is a basic one, of course. Of course, the other clinical status, the other evidence of a seizure are the basic for giving a diagnosis. But let me understand, out of that method which you presented, how I can use it on day-to-day clinical practice.
So the most straightforward application is use that as an anomaly detection tool. So we don't have to basically, or we can simplify that process that we have to look through the recording of EEG. We can have beforehand annotated the suspicious parts of the recording, and then the physiologist that is making an evaluation tries to understand the patterns present there, has some clues about where maybe he or she should look into when doing such analysis. Interesting thing about such models is that they sometimes can spot patterns that can be omitted when evaluated by a human. So that's the first application. The second one is when you can classify the period of the EEG as a pre-ictal one, so before the seizure. Theoretically, you have also a prediction tool. Okay, so this is actually something that we are trying to evaluate right now, but the predictive power of such an algorithm, because if we have accurate classification of the pre-ictal period, then we, for example, can implement that in some wearable device or in something that is constantly monitoring a patient and try to predict an hour, 2 hours in advance that maybe there's going to be a seizure and patients should take, I don't know, the proper drug or just stop what he's doing and look for help. So those are the ones that we had in mind. I don't know if they are useful from your perspective.
You know, in particular, this prediction tool could be very useful. As far as I know, today there is no algorithm because of the complexity of the problem which can predict the pre-ictal phase long enough before it is happening. There is few methods today which can show that the brachial phase happening few seconds before. But maybe there is something which I can learn from you. Are you saying that there is a way that we can see, or the threat of incoming seizure much longer than a few seconds before?
Actually, studies are claiming, but that's important in claiming, because when you deeply read them, it is basically using data as it's comfortable for you to make it work as you want. In practice, as you say, when deploying such a systems, I'm also not aware that anyone made it reliable and operating with long enough horizon of prediction. There are some research, but I haven't heard about deployment of such things.
No, there is, at least as far as I know, there is no such a tool. There is only one device approved recently by the CE based on HRV method, heart rate variability, which can predict incoming seizure, but nothing which is based on the cortical activity as itself.
Yeah, so that's possible application, but as I said, we need to do further research on that, because actually yesterday some smart people present in this room advised me to take on some additional steps to evaluate that. So hopefully we will make some progress in that manner.
Yeah, and there is some room for possible collaborations. Yeah,
so. Thank you. Quite interesting, and hopefully you will bring some maybe new solution to the market. As I said, so far there is nothing, at least as I'm aware of, that can predict a seizure. It will be, I would say, a Nobel Prize, solution.
Okay, thank you. We have to move to the next presentation, so let's thanks Szymon. And is it correct that the next presentation is given online? Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have Robert from the Cleaninode, and we are going to hear about also the problems of data and interoperability. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Actually, my name is Rafał Szmuc. I am co-founder of Cleaninode. Robert, due to the health reasons, couldn't join today. Hopefully, I will do my best to present our idea. Yes, thank you, and I'm really happy to know that there are lots of clinicians they're hearing us, because Cleaninode developed the innovative technology that solves the dilemma of getting the highest possible quality of the data from doctors' daily medical notes, while in the same time significantly increasing the efficiency of node creation. There isn't always that trade-off for the doctors. How much time to spend talking to the patients, examining him, and working directly with the patient versus the need of to register all the clinical information coming out from the consultation or examination. And here in Cleaninode, we are fulfilling this mission by seeing more and more doctors regaining the valuable time to work with the patient, and at the same time providing to many stakeholders. This is going to be something what I explain later. High quality data, previously practically unavailable for on the large scale. So we need to make a real change, and here comes to the Cleaninode. Without additional burden, simultaneously, we provide live suggestions to the doctor by giving them suggestions of the end sentences, full sentences, or templates. And by the way, we are speeding up the normal node creation process. In the same time, creating the real-world data. How we do that? That's pretty simple and disruptive. We keeping the doctor's routine as it was before. So we are not moving him from the hospital information system or other EHR system he's using normally. But during his work on EHR system, we are supporting him with the CliniNote system. You can see it on the left-hand side in the normal browser window. This is one of the example of the EHR working in many hospitals, but also we can integrate with the others. We are connecting to the EHR via web browser, and how it works in reality, in action. So normally the doctor, when she is making the note, puts all the text into the text box by writing it simply using keyboard or pasting something. So you can see on the left-hand side, it, in our case, which been measured, takes sometimes, in this case, 72 seconds. By using CliniNote suggestions, so using the phrases we are suggesting to put them into the text, it goes down to the 42 seconds. But when using the CliniNote templates, which is a collection of the end sentences and free text, it can go down even to 19 seconds. So 70% of the time previously spent on note creation, it's just been saved. Just imagine how much more time, how much time we can save during the whole day. And what about the data? Because this is something what we've been discussing actually. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, goes. When the note is saved, all the information which looks like a normal text still are structured and saved in the EMR or EHR system used by the doctor. At the same time, all the structured information structured using the CliniNote are stored in the separate database, which is immediately available to analyze them or to create or read the history of the patient. And the doctors very often works together in the team, especially treating the patients. They have to share within the clinic or a hospital the templates and standards they are using, and CliniNote natively is designed to create a community of the doctors, to let them share all the templates or dictionaries they are using on a day-to-day basis. I would like to share with you some experiences from real daily usage of the CliniNote in the real case. The case is very often found, maybe very often found in our hospitals across the Europe too. There is no significant change between Poland and the rest of the world, where we have the elderly doctor with a bad experience with IT staff, focused only on, let's say, minimizing the time spent on the bureaucracy, on the note taking. And of course, in our case, it was the first doctor designated by the head of the clinic to check whether CliniNote works perfectly for the purposes of the clinic. And still, as you can see, the doctor is really keeping, collecting the notes after 21 days. And still, after many months after starting the cooperation, he is still using this. And by the way, at the same time, the same doctor now is covering almost 75% or more of the text collected within the note with the structured information provided by CliniNote. So now we significantly reduced so-called dark data area, the unstructured information unavailable before for analysis. There is another interesting case to use the CliniNote for in the clinical trials and registers. How it looks today, what are the hurdles? first, the source of the information, and the definition of what kind of data we have to gather is the eCRF, the definition, and this is the place where we have to put all the data. But we are contacting the patient normally. We as a doctor, we are contacting the patient normally on day-to-day basis. So to perform the clinical trial properly, we need to collect lots of data. And by the way, not to forget them to put them into eCRF, then take them in the right time, translate the notes sometimes into the different languages and proper fields in the eCRF. And sometimes we have to make double work. So put the data into the EHR and then to eCRF. And of course, there is a significant delay between visiting the patient and filling the eCRF, sorry. So in the real life, the CliniNote helps first by creating the structured text and field templates from the eCRF. It helps the doctors collect the information with the normal EHR process, as normally it is doing, as presented before. Then, based on the structured information, we simply fill up or upload the data to eCRF. So there is no double work. We are sure that all the information being collected at the the most important point when the patient was examined and visited. So the quality of the data rises significantly for the clinical trials. So finally, how does CliniNote makes a real difference? First of all, we seamlessly integrate with the current workflow without deep integration. We significantly decrease the time spent on the interaction with EMR by the doctors. The data are immediately available to any purpose we may have. We provide a tool which is very easy to use simply, and we are not changing the routine. And finally, last but not least, we are not we are providing the possibility to collaborate between the hospitals, within the hospitals, between the doctors, and standardize the language they are using. I would like to share, if I have some time still, to share the information about the two projects, real cases we are having now with Novartis. We are starting the very interesting data study to collect the information, very important for the National Cancer Network in Poland, where the deployed CliniNote technology will assist the doctors in collecting the essential information and, by the way, to create a set of the data set which allows to calculate the quality indicators. The second case with IQVIA and DigiCore, we are approaching almost 15 hospitals where we'll help in connecting the retrospective NLP analysis with prospective data collection in a pan-European scope. The CliniNote is seeking now for the partnerships with the companies focus on healthcare and data collection, and of course with the hospitals which are interested in organizing the data collection process in a better way and to save the time and of the doctors. Hope I'm on time, and I'm happy to answer any question. As I said, my name is Rafał Szmus, not Robert Drugowski, but please I will answer.
Yeah. Do we have a question? Okay.
Thank you for the interesting talk. Definitely a very straightforward tool for clinicians. How do you deal with the respective GDPR regulations so that you have a separate database where these data have to vanish after some time? You are communicating with other clinics, and there are special regulations about pseudonymization and those things. How do you deal with those?
Yeah, thank you for the question. This is the excellent question. In the light of EHDS, European Health Data Space coming, all this stuff related to GDPR and data sharing is extremely important. And there are several things related to cleaning out with that. First of all, by definition, by construction, of the cleaning out in the normal settings, which we are now developing. So the implementation within the hospital, inside the hospital infrastructure, the data collected thanks to the clean out usage remains and stays at the hospital infrastructure. So it doesn't flow somewhere else, somewhere out of the hospital secure network. So we are just helping the doctors to work with the data, to collect them and to store it in the separate database in order to, for example, support the federated data learning, which is another topic, but still the data stays in the hospital. That's one. The second, of course, the definitions we are providing, like end sentences or templates, may be shared, but they are not containing any information related to the patients until they are used to collect real node, which, as I said, will be stored in the database in the hospital. There is another, of course, important topic where the several units, medical units, would like to share the information finally, because they are treating, for example, the patient, sending them and keeping the patient moving between the really different entities. And in that sense, we are providing the solution where we are supporting the data collection with the pseudonymized or even anonymized manner. It really depends on the type of the deployment we are agreeing with the hospital. So we are ready to provide the fully, let's say, safe, secure environment, up to open cloud-based solutions. It really depends what you need. And of course, in every single case, the information again stays at the hospital. So there is no flow over the cloud of CleanNote, any of the patient data. I hope it answers the question.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's thank our speaker again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a final presentation. Do we have? Yes, the presenter. Yeah, so please, we have Victoria Samolej representing, okay, Komar Healthcare. So yeah, we'll hear now about some telemedicine solutions. Thank you.
Okay, so hello everyone, nice to see you. I would like to explore with you the role of telemedicine platform in medical data analysis. I'm Victoria Samolej, product manager responsible for the developing of such a platform. Yes, and maybe short introduction. So it is crucial to understand that this telemedicine platform, it's a medical device, software dedicated for medical entities to run telemedicine services, dedicated mainly for long-term monitoring patients with chronic diseases at their homes. So we have three main actors who use the platform: a paramedic, physician, and manager. The first group, paramedics, we can classify here also nurses, I think. So this actor has a contact with the patient every day. So their main task on the platform is to handle some events, like, for example, when they receive the information that patient's blood pressure is too high, they need to react as quickly as possible and handle this event, support patient. The next group, physicians, so they have other goals. So they need to define therapeutical scheme for the patient. They analyze data rather in the long-term perspective. So not every day, but once a week, once a month. It depends on patient case. And the third group, managers, so they want to know what kind of telemedicine services are popular, what are the patient's primary problem, to know how to adapt marketing activities and attach new patients to the facility. And here you can see how we've transformed the product landscape to support medical personnel, also managers in medical data analysis. So the first step was gathering data from various sources. The next one, deciding which data is important, which not. Also, what is the priority of this important data. The next, preparing dedicated analysis tools. And for future, we plan to use BI tools to build relations between various parameters, but also OCR to digitize documents which are not digitized. Yes, and so the first one, gathering data. So currently we gather data from various various device types. So not only ECG devices, but also blood pressure, thermometers, scales, etc. And what is important, these devices are produced by different manufacturers. So the platform needs to have some universal mechanism to handle this data. Yes, and we have large amounts of data, so we need more time to analyze it. So we add some tools which enable medical personnel to analyze this data. So here you can see one of the tools. It's configuration tool. So even before the patient starts the treatment, we need to know which data will be important to us. So here we can see set value ranges and decide which kind of data will be critical and which of them will be important. So in the result, we can see this data on the notifications list. So it's the list for the paramedics, nurses, which know that this data should be handled, and one are more important than the others. Another tool is the procedure tool. So it's a set of questions, recommendations, mainly for paramedics, for nurses. So for example, when they receive the information that the blood pressure is too high, they have ready rules, ready steps which they should take to handle this event. In this way, we lower the risk of making a mistake, because when you work in the monitoring center, there are a lot of patients, there are a lot of events, so it's easy to make a mistake. We present all data on the charts, so mainly physicians can see the trends, how the data change in time, also which are in or beyond the norm. We use also AI and ML to analyze ECG data, also polygraphy data, but here you can see ECG. So each ECG signal which is sent to the platform previously is sent to the algorithmic platform. The signal is analyzed and the results are sent to a telemedicine platform. So medical personnel can see highlighted fragments where algorithm detected some disorders. Yeah, and for the future, we plan to use BI tools in medical data analysis. So we want to prepare a universal tool which enable to address it for different group of medical cases. I hope it will be possible. In the effect, we want to have a solution which enable to compare, for example, various therapeutical paths and decide which are better for a particular group of patients and which not. Okay, and thank you for attention.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for the nice presentation. And we have, time for some questions. Yes, there is one.
Thank you very much for very interesting, inspiring presentation. You elaborated a little bit about precision medicine and your future plans. So could you tell us something more? Thank you.
Yes, so on the basis of BI tool, which we want to implement to the platform, we want to address it because we're a technology provider, so we don't organize clinical studies. We don't organize the clinical studies. So we want to address it to the medical entities, yes, so they can they can use this solution and draw some conclusions, yes. Maybe engage also algorithms, but yes, so currently today we want to use BI. So we rather look for maybe organizations who would like to participate and create this kind of dashboards.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. A quick question. Do you look for academic collaborations in data science?
I think yes, definitely
Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
Yes, so that's why we are here. Okay, so yeah, we should thank our last speaker and all the speakers in the session. And yeah, I'm sorry for taking part of the coffee break from you, but I hope the discussions were interesting, useful, so we have time for more discussions during the break. Thank you.